Thanks for listening to the Multi-Format Network, where we have a history of working in radio, digital media, and across all podcast and social media platforms, offering media services a la carte to anyone seeking help with the creation of their show, from making a podcast RSS feed to syndicating a daily radio show from your home studio. The Multi-Format Network is the company you want to work with to own your content. Find us at multiformat.net. Email us at operators@multiformat.net.
Spiece Fieldhouse, a 150,000 square foot facility, has one of the most sophisticated, technologically advanced, and user-friendly basketball-only facilities in the United States. Hundreds of America's top prep basketball stars have competed inside the walls of Spiece Fieldhouse, which is conveniently located at exit 311 off I-69. The faculty features a large parking lot with over 400 parking spots, concessions, and workout facilities, 8 hardwood basketball and volleyball courts, spectator seating, a shot clock, scoreboard, and locker rooms, a restaurant and snack bar, over 400 parking spaces, an extensive fitness center, and has hosted such events as the USSSA National Tournament, Bill Hensley's Memorial Run and Slam All-Star Classic, the AYBT Nationals, Hoosier Hysteria Shootout, Lady Jim Rat's May Invitational, and the Hickory Husker Classic. Spiece Fieldhouse, which is conveniently located at exit 311 off I-69.
This is the 260. I'm Joe Walburn. I'm joined by the man they call the mayor, Dave Rickert, and we've got Matt Brumball with us from Spiece. And Matt, a lot of exciting things coming up. It's almost April. Spring break is coming. Lots of stuff to do for the kids and the parents. Give us an update.
Absolutely. We have, again, the volleyball camps are going strong every day. You look out there, and those numbers keep getting better and better, which is very exciting. You know, Randy Litchfield, who's the director of volleyball here, is doing a great job. The Youth Skills Academy, the Setting U, Libero U, the Attacking U, and then the spring break camp coming up. It'll be from April 3rd through the 6th, 10 to 3, and it's really rolling. It's, he's doing a great job, and it's exciting. And tonight, as you see out here, we got some volleyball going, which is good, but we want, the good thing is now IHSAA, they have boys and girls volleyball, so it can be both genders coming out here and getting it done. So pretty exciting.
It is exciting. Now I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. What do you recommend here at Spiece as they hit spring break? Because I want to get them off their devices. I want to get them out of the house. Yep. What do you recommend with some of the programs here?
Yeah, we are going to have a activities camp, and it's going to be the whole week long, Monday the 3rd through Friday the 7th, 9 to 4. That includes lunch where you have hot dog, chips, and a drink, and we're just going to do all kinds of activities. We're gonna hit it all. We're gonna hit basketball, volleyball, soccer, wiffle ball, dodgeball, I'm going to be a gym teacher for a week again, I'm going back to my roots to being a gym teacher. But, no, it's going to be fun. I mean, that's one thing we want to do is we want the kids, to be active and get things done. And, we're going to introduce them some new things, too. Pickleball is something that, not a lot of kids, have in mind. And we're going to get them out there and have some pickleball games. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about pickleball because Dave gave me a lesson in pickleball. And coming up, look for a show down the road where we're going to do some pickleball. So we're excited about that. But if I bring my boys out here, then I can hit the gym, right?
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about some of the gym memberships and the different stuff you guys are doing. And I think it's what, SpieceFitness.com, Matt?
Yeah, SpieceFitness.com. We have all our membership pass or rates on there. We broke it down. Seniors, it's a $5 enrollment fee and it's $20 per month. Students, we've cut down to a $10 enrollment fee and $25 per month. And then a single is a $20 enrollment fee and $40 per month. And then, we have a couple that's, a married couple is $20 enrollment fee, $60 a month. And then we have the family pass, which is, $20 enrollment fee and it's $80 per month. And that's, basically a family of 5.
That's a heck of a deal, too, because when I hit the gym, I like to go for a couple of hours. So, if you go 3 or 4 times a week, couple of hours, think about that when you break it down hourly. And also what I like about is you guys have the the steam rooms, you guys have the saunas, the different things where you can really get warmed up for the weights, and the equipment is so nice and new. It's really a nice facility.
Yeah, it's been revamped. Everything's been renovated. We're working on equipment every day to make sure we get the best equipment. Reupholstered, cleaned up, and make it a great place to come work out every day. And like you said, the sauna it's so nice to have that amenity there where you can either you get in there, get a little bit warmed up before you go lift weights, or hey, have a good workout, go in there and relax and enjoy it. It's fabulous.
And something else that's underrated with the gym here at Spiece is the people. You got great people that work out here. And I like that with the gym, because when you have some camaraderie around the gym and you got great people to work out with, you kind of begin to look forward to seeing people at the gym, and you get a great group of people that work out here at Spiece.
Yeah, it's continuing to grow, and that's what we want, that community. Hey, the fitness community, be here, work out, enjoy, the camaraderie that we have inside the gym. Our guys, J.D. Didion in the morning and Jared Alexander in the afternoons and evenings. Great guys. What they do is, they're here to greet you, and they're here to help you. We've got some exciting news coming up here in a couple weeks that, we'll just leave it as a tease right there. But we got some pretty exciting things coming up here for the gym that I think a lot of people are going to like.
I am pumped up, too, about that. And so, again, SpieceFitness.com. And Dave, as we kind of move away from some of the Spiece stuff and begin to get into the high school basketball, it's state championship week, and one of our very own gets to referee the 4A state championship game.
Yeah, I was talking with James Payne last night, and he gets the Kokomo Ben Davis game. And I think that's 4A. The premier game.
Wow.
I'm telling you. Ben Davis, obviously undefeated.
Yes.
Beat Kokomo by 7 and December 3rd. So
okay, Dave, here you go.
Early.
Who you like?
Kokomo.
I do too. I like Kokomo too. And that win over Penn, what an effort. And it just feels like sometimes when you watch the tournaments, Matt, sometimes you see a team that just kind of has that it factor and that magic, and that's what it feels like with Kokomo, guys.
And you got the best player in the state of Indiana, Flory.
And you beat. Kokomo took out a Penn team that, wow. Al Rhodes is a Hall of Fame coach.
He is.
And the guys that they had at the guards position, and the way that Kokomo was able to come out of there with a 1-point victory, unbelievable.
Well, to that game, 108-68. Yes, he's Hall of Fame, but I would have taken Burton out.
I think you're right. That's a great point.
When you're up by 20, take the kid out, because he didn't have the size to go up against Flory. He got shut down every time he tried to drive the lane. He had no legs left.
Yep.
I would have set him.
That's a great point. Now let's pivot over to 2A with the Black Hawk and Linton game. Yeah. Obviously, we're proud of the Black Hawk program, another state championship game. But, Dave, quite an understory behind that game with Black Hawk and Linton, and kind of a sad story.
Well, give you a little history. In the last 7 years, Black Hawk and Linton have the best records in the state of Indiana.
Wow.
Okay? But after the game for Linton, the coach got arrested for a DUI. He's done. He will not be coaching the state of Indiana ever again.
That is sad. Now correct me if I'm wrong. That's 2 this season, correct?
2 this season.
Wow, what a shame.
So
So does that, okay, Dave, does that hurt the Linton kids on Saturday, or does that something they can maybe rally around the assistant, play psychologist in the box with all your experience coaching? How does that unwind for Linton this week to prepare for a state championship game?
It definitely has to hurt him.
I agree.
I mean, his son is a star on Linton's team, but watching Blackhawk last weekend, the way to stop Blackhawk is don't go slow. They want to go fast. And they finally broke out with about 5-6 minutes left in the game, and that's how it got out of control. But that was a close game up until that point because they just went slow.
Yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Roth over there for what he's done. You know, taking the mantle of Coach Davidson and the guy, the personality and the guy that he was, and God bless him and all he did, at Blackhawk Christian. But Coach Roth just kind of took the mantle and. Hey, they've got great kids. I mean,
they do
all the way through. All their athletics are solid, and they're a good group of kids, good athletes, and you're pulling, for Blackhawk all the way. But I can tell you, experience-wise, what you're talking about with Linton. I've been in that spot where you're kind of the acting coach in big situations, and as an assistant coach, you just got to go rally the kids and tell them, hey, our purpose is to win this championship, and we've got to go out. Nothing changes. You just go out and play your game hard. But I expect a great game and two quality programs. And, let's bring it home again, Blackhawk.
I think Coach Davidson would be so pleased. Now, let's pivot.
Let's stay there for a minute.
Yeah.
I swear, when last 7 years, those Davidson boys, they all look the same. They all play the same. I mean, they control the game.
Yeah. Yeah, they certainly do. And they're just so disciplined, so well coached.
Yeah.
And I feel like Blackhawk just sucks it up in big moments and plays so hard as a program and just allow pride with the 2-6-0. And speaking of pride, talk about Indiana Tech. What a run through, the NAIA.
National runner-ups.
National runner-up. What a run, guys. Got to the championship game. Got down early, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but made just a valiant
45-26 at half.
Yeah, and battled all the way back and barely lost.
I'll say with about 3 minutes, because I was watching the state tournament and the NCAA tournament, but I was watching on my phone Indiana Tech. It might have been still 9-10 points they were down. I was
wow.
I told my wife, I go, it's over. Look back, they're down by 2.
Unbelievable. I mean, just such a great effort, so well coached, and what a run. I mean, hats off to the program.
Blake Davison again, another 2-6-0 kid. He ended up with 12 points and 5 boards.
Okay, so that's one program really well coached. Let's pivot to a program poorly coached. I got one thing to say to you, Dave. Farley Dickerson.
Shame. Just a shame what happened. But when one guy's playing and the other 4 aren't, I saw something, they were, I forget, it was so low percentage of threes. Maybe 3 for 25?
Yeah, they just couldn't hit a 3 ball. But let me ask you this. I agree. You're not making shots.
You're not getting Edie the ball?
Exactly. But why not defensively, too? Why not roll into a 3-2 matchup zone?
He won't go into zone.
That's what I don't understand. Farley is the shortest team in the NCAA, where I read that. And why not roll?
They shouldn't even been in the tournament.
Exactly. That's a great point. Only won 4 games last year. But, okay, you don't have anybody bigger than 6'5". They're all my size. Why not roll into a 3-2 matchup zone, protect Edie, and you're not going to have any issues rebounding out of the zone. So I don't understand that. Then the last thing to finish up Purdue, when you break the press, I think you have to make people pay. I think when you watch ball tonight and tomorrow night in the Sweet 16, if somebody's pressing, these teams are going to attack, and there has to be consequences. I didn't like that out of Purdue either, but it's just a shame because Purdue's been so successful, Dave. But the way you measure an NCAA program
is in the tournament.
Is in the NCAA
Absolutely.
tournament in March. And I tell you what, I don't know if anybody has pissed down their leg any more than Matt Painter, and that's really trying to be soft on that day. But I'm gonna pivot though quickly. Brumby, talk about IU. I felt like the second half. I love IU. I was just as disappointed as the Purdue fans. Dave over there was celebrating, but I felt like as IU, we didn't play hard the last 15 minutes of that second half.
Well, not only that, it was the same problem on Sunday night that it was on Friday night. When you give up offensive boards to the other team,
yeah,
that's second chance points. And coming home from that game, you know, after watching it, 29 points on 20 offensive rebounds for Miami.
We got killed
That's
on
the
the
game.
glass.
That's the game.
That was the game.
You've got some premier players, but at the same time, hey, it still comes down to fundamentals. You still got to block out and find a way to go grab that ball and not let other teams have its second chance points. And you know that was the game, plain and simple.
And as we wrap up this first segment, how about Sam Spiece and his bat over at St. Francis? And you guys are baseball guys. How excited are you guys when the end of March comes? How excited do you guys get for baseball season?
Well, St. Francis is 10-14 right now. Not very good. But Sam Spiece is in second place in home runs with 6.
Impressive.
Dwayne kid. St. Francis has a lot of area 260 kids.
Yes, they do.
Indiana Tech, they're 12-5. So
on a tough schedule too. They've gone out and played the big boys.
Yeah.
They were out in Oklahoma City a couple weeks ago. And
is that what you want to do though, Matt? When you were over there, do you want to play really the tough early schedule?
Absolutely. I mean, I did that, you know, at Northrop when I was a head baseball coach there. We played a tough schedule coming out of the chute because, you know, you only learn from those games. I mean, you kind of get a measuring stick of where you're at. But yeah, as Indiana Tech, man, we played the best. That's how we got rolling.
Well, that's great. It's so exciting to see all these sports so active in the 260. We want to remind everybody it's SpieceFitness.com. Get out here over spring break. Let's get some momentum going. Let's get in the gym. Let's get these camps going. And I tell you what, Dave, coming up next, a guy who I would argue is probably one of the top 3 greatest athletes of the 260. Dave, you would argue he's the best. And we are so excited coming up next. Roosevelt Barnes on the 260.
Thanks for listening to the Multi-Format Network, where we have a history of working in radio, digital media, and across all podcast and social media platforms, offering media services a la carte to anyone seeking help with the creation of their show, from making a podcast RSS feed to syndicating a daily radio show from your home studio. The Multi-Format Network is the company you want to work with to own your content. Find us at multiformat.net. Email us at operators@multiformat.net.
Spiece Fieldhouse, a 150,000 square foot facility, has one of the most sophisticated, technologically advanced, and user-friendly basketball-only facilities in the United States. Hundreds of America's top prep basketball stars have competed inside the walls of Spiece Fieldhouse, which is conveniently located at exit 311 off I-69. The faculty features a large parking lot with over 400 parking spots, concessions, and workout facilities. 8 hardwood basketball and volleyball courts, spectator seating, a shot clock, scoreboard, and locker rooms, a restaurant and snack bar, over 400 parking spaces, an extensive fitness center, and has hosted such events as the USSSA National Tournament, Bill Hensley's Memorial Run and Slam All-Star Classic, the AYBT Nationals, Hoosier Hysteria Shootout, Lady Jim Rat's May Invitational, and the Hickory Husker Classic. Spiece Fieldhouse, which is conveniently located at exit 311 off I-69.
Yes, this is the 260. I'm Joe Walber. I'm joined by the man they call the mayor of the 260, Dave Rickert. And Dave and I are just running through the 260, laying down content. And what better content could we have, my friend Dave, than to have the one and only, the great Roosevelt Barnes to join us. And Roosevelt, thank you for coming on the 260.
Thank you so much.
You're a legend of the 260, and we are so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. This is home. It always has been, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Roosevelt, I want to start with your youth. I want you to talk a little bit about, you grew up on the south end of Fort Wayne. I want you to talk a little bit about your family, but then I also want you then to kind of get into the first sport that you were dominant at, a sport that a lot of us, always think of you as football and basketball, but a sport in baseball that you really kind of found yourself, Dave, and excelled at early on.
Doing pre-interview with him, that's where it clicked with me. I was like, you made your name as a Little League player.
And that's fascinating because when I think of
But his point was, baseball was king.
It was king, and that was probably something that you could talk about, Roosevelt. Obviously it was the 1970s. Baseball was still huge then. But talk to us a little bit about your youth and how dominant you were playing Little League.
Well, yeah, we had a pretty good Little League team. I did grow up on the south side of Fort Wayne. I went to Southern Heights Elementary School.
Wow.
I don't think Southern Heights doesn't even exist. I think they changed the name.
Yeah.
By the way, he knew his address and still knows the telephone number to that.
922 Belmont. 744-3124. That was our phone.
You never
219 area code. But grew up on the south side.
Yeah.
We had, back then it was neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And
You played.
we would play basketball during basketball season, football during football season,
Yeah.
baseball during baseball season. We went to park board. There was a lady named Miss Hicks. She used to run the park board program at Southern Heights.
Yeah.
And so, we played everything up there. Big box hockey, little box hockey.
You played
ping
hockey
pong.
too?
What's box hockey?
I would have loved to see you play a little box hockey.
Box hockey was you had a big box and they had a ball and you'd have a stick. It wasn't a hockey stick, but it was a stick, and the goal was to get the stick, get the ball through the other person's hole.
Okay.
And then they had little box hockey, and it was the same thing. You had a checker, and you take a popsicle stick and you
Try to flick it.
yeah, and try to flick it in the other hole. But I grew up on the south side of Fort Wayne, and ended up, just a bunch of kids in the neighborhood playing and competing against each other.
Sure.
And when we grew up, it was like neighborhood against neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
We moved out there when I was like 5 years old, and so there were not a lot of minorities, black people who lived in that. We just had a little circle of families that lived there. So most of our relatives lived in central part of Fort Wayne.
Sure.
And so, but it was fun. It was fun growing up at that time. And I didn't play.
You should get back to that and not being on the playing the games on the computer.
Well,
absolutely.
And what you said, competing.
My mother and father, these days these kids are playing games. Once we got up, Mama would tell us, "Hey, you're not gonna sit around the house." So we would, we'd go out and play games all day. And then I started competing in sports. My first coach was my grandfather.
Really?
Now, this is where it gets real interesting.
And he used to tell me stories about baseball, and baseball was a big sport,
Yes.
when I was growing up. My first heroes were Willie Mays and Roberto Clemente and Hank Aaron
That was his college number.
and Bob Gibson. Yeah, I wore 21 in baseball at Purdue because of Roberto Clemente.
Here's the best part. So we're talking, I had to explain to Joe what chicken-handed was.
Yeah.
Okay. And I go, he was hitting home runs as an 8-year-old, and they had him fix him from batting chicken-handed.
Now explain chicken-handed to the audience.
So if you're right-handed, bottom hand's on the left at the bottom, but he had it reversed. And by the way, Hank Aaron was the same thing. they did not fix him until he got out into the Negro leagues to go this way. So both your forearms and your wrists have to be so strong and quick to do that. It's impossible.
That would seem so difficult. I mean, how would you get the power?
And that's where
I don't know. My grandfather taught me to bat that way until I went to Wildcat at 8 years old, and AC Eldridge was
AC.
He was a coach over there, and he told me, he said, well, you hit the ball pretty good.
AC
but
was
really
a great baseball player.
I didn't know that about
Yeah.
AC.
Him
If
and
you
Chris Stavretti.
change your hands, and so he taught me how to change the way I held the bat.
Wow.
And so that was the first organized sports, because everybody played baseball. You know, Little League,
Were you
Wildcat
it?
was everywhere.
Was you it, or were there other kids that were batting that away?
No, I don't think so. I think I was the only person
Only
that was batting that way, because, again, like I said, my grandfather was the one who taught me how to swing a bat, and he was my
But still
inspiration.
hitting home runs.
That's
Right.
remarkable. And that was over in the Sacred Heart?
No, I actually played Wildcat at Brewer Park.
Brewer Park. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
Brewer Park. And then I ended up playing Little League over at Sacred Heart Little League.
Okay, Little League was over there.
Yeah, and Sacred Heart is there's no longer Little League over there, but we were I started off as a 9-year-old.
Wow.
And I was a catcher as a 9-year-old, and we had a really, really young team. We had a lot of 9 and 10-year-olds when I was 9, so we got beat up pretty good. I think we may have only won 5 or 6 games. And my coach, Al Meredith, he made me a catcher, and Mr. Dorman, not Will Dorman, but Vern Dorman.
Wow.
He was my Little League coach as well.
Are they
Yeah.
brothers?
And, yeah, they're brothers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they taught me how to catch. And then I pitched some when I was 9. And then when I was 10, we got a little better. We started winning some games, but we were not a really great team. But when I was 11, we were really good. I mean, we
Wow.
were
I
we
think-
were really, really good.
I think you brought some pictures.
Yeah.
Sonar, do you know if the pictures are up? So there we go.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my 12-year-old year
Wow.
when we won the city championship. But I think our best team, that's when I was 10.
Wow.
I was actually sitting on the bench because I got in trouble, so my mama wouldn't let me play that day.
Gotta have rules.
And this was the year I thought we should have won the city championship.
Wow.
Interesting story there. We Powell was really good over at McMillan Park.
Okay.
And at the time, you know, for the Little League All-Star game, you'd have your All-Stars from your park, and Powell with Myron Myers was the coach, and their All-Star, McMillan's All-Star team made it. They were one game away from going to the World Series in, the Little League World Series.
Yes.
And so they were undefeated. Powell and Wholesome Bakery, who I played for, we were undefeated.
Wholesome Bakery?
Yes.
I love that, Dave. How's that for
And-
a team named Wholesome Bakery?
Wholesome Bakery. And so I got a chance to pitch the first game in the tournament.
Yeah,
Wow.
We
this story
won.
here is unreal.
We won, but you can only pitch 6 innings in a week. So because McMillan Park was in the Little League World Series trying to get to the finals, they had to postpone the game. So the next week,
He's got a live
I
arm.
was ready I could pitch again because I had my 6 innings available again. And
They boycotted.
yeah, they had a meeting.
They boycotted you.
Yeah, they had a meeting. They wouldn't
Oh,
let
my
me
gosh.
pitch. They said that it wasn't fair that I get to pitch 2 games in a row. So what the compromise
Politics
was.
of Little League.
Yeah, politics of Little League.
To kids, that's terrible.
So
To a kid.
the compromise was they would let me pitch 3 innings, and somebody else had to pitch the other 3. And so we were up 1-0 when I was pitching, and we ended up losing 2-1 when I was 11, and that was our only loss in 2 years. And then my 12-year-old year, we killed everybody. My 12-year-old year,
Wow.
we won the city championship, and my brother had 4 hits, and I think I had 3 home
Oh,
runs.
your brother was on your team.
Yeah, my brother was on the team, and
Wow.
we killed everybody. And we beat
you
Hall's
both pitch?
Guest House. No,
Hall's Guest House. That's who they beat.
yeah, we beat Hall's Guest
Let's
House.
go.
Yeah, we no, he didn't pitch. He played outfield.
Okay.
So yeah,
So you were extremely dominant playing baseball.
yes,
Time to go to middle school. Ben Geyer.
yeah,
That's where I went to school.
Yes, sir.
And all of a sudden, obviously, you're a 3-sport athlete, and you picked up running hurdles over there. And I've always heard stories about you. Everybody talked about what a great player you were, but I always heard about your toughness. Was running the hurdles? You had to be tough to run the hurdles. Was that something that helped your toughness as you really progressed with basketball and football over at Ben Geyer?
Well, yeah. I mean, it. You had to be tough just to survive in the neighborhood. You know.
Oh, yeah.
When you would play with the older guys, if they would allow you to play, you had to learn how to play. You had to learn how to, if you go
Take
to
an
the
elbow.
park. Yeah, and you couldn't complain about it if you were
No.
one of the younger kids. And I always got a chance to play with the older kids. And
Do you
so,
think how much did that help you playing with the older kids, Roosevelt?
Oh, just
It always
was
does.
a tremendous advantage when you get a chance to play with the older kids, and they beat you up, and
Sure.
you have to learn how to survive.
But they also want to see you get better.
But they do. They do want to help you get better, and yeah, I ran the hurdles. I think I won the city championship in the 7th grade.
Yeah,
and
you did.
In the 8th grade, I
was
think.
basketball-
And then I came in 2nd in the 9th grade, which
In basketball, it was 7th grade your
That
first
still
year?
bothers you, huh?
Yeah, 7th grade was no.
So you
we,
didn't no
we-
basketball prior to that?
No, we had a basketball team. Football was in 7th grade was the first time I played organized football. But basketball, we had a team over at Southern Heights,
Okay.
and we
Okay.
were really pretty good, and we were one of the better teams in the area. So we started. We had a team, I think, in the 5th and the 6th grade.
Okay.
And I used to want to be. I had a cousin, Ron Barnes.
Mr. Barnes.
They used
yeah.
to call
He
him.
was my teacher at Northrop.
Yeah.
He was my brother's coach at Northrop. He was a reserve coach.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to look
His
up
hero.
Yeah, that was my hero, and some of the older guys that I used to play with and play against. Those were the guys that helped me develop my skills. The Raymond Causeys,
Great names.
Darrell Causey, I know.
Al McGee, Dr. Al McGee.
Yes.
Oh, he was a dog.
Yeah.
People like that. Eugene Parker.
Oh yeah.
you know.
Now as you wrap up at Ben Geyer, back then high school started at 10th grade.
Yes.
At what point, Roosevelt, did it kind of dawn on you that you were like, you know what? I believe I'm different at sports. Was there a point in your youth where you felt like you're playing all these sports, you're winning city championships and hurdles, you're a dominant athlete? Was there a point in your mind where you felt like you kind of got that confidence where you're like, you know what? I'm really good at sports.
Well, I can't remember not thinking I wasn't good at sports, to be honest.
And there was a lot of competition
I was,
around him.
Does it just come so natural?
I
to you?
always knew that I used to tell my mother and my father and my grandfather, at first I said I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. I wanted to be like Willie
Should've.
Mays.
He would have been. He would have been 10, 15 years in the league.
Yeah.
But then I used to say I wanted to be a pro in football, basketball, and baseball. I wasn't very good in school, even though my parents were really on me. What changed me as far as academics was my 6th grade teacher, Mr. Mossberg. He told me one day when I used to say that I was going to be a pro, and so I didn't really need school. He said, well, in order for you to go pro in all 3 sports, you're going to have to go to college. In order to go to college, you have to get good grades. And when he said that, a light clicked on, and after that, I was a pretty good student. But I always felt like I was going to be a pro at something. you
Sure.
know.
Now, as you hit Wayne, you roll into Wayne at 10th grade. You didn't have any issues competing on
How big
football
were
or
you as a
basketball.
10th grader?
Exactly. How big were you at that time, Roosevelt?
I was probably about 6'1", a little maybe a little taller than that, but I probably was about I don't know, 80 pounds, maybe 75
Is that
pounds.
with a wet towel on or what?
Yeah. But we had a pretty good team. You know, our class that came in, you know, Al Gooden.
Oh yeah.
He just retired.
He just
Yeah,
retired,
just retired.
from coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, he was my nemesis.
35 years as a coach.
He was a fantastic athlete. Tell him, Roosevelt,
Oh, yeah.
how good Al Gooden
Al
was.
Gooden was a freak. He was
Yeah.
my nemesis in
Yeah.
junior high school because he
That's why I
went to
always heard
Portage.
it was you two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my other nemesis was Steve Bates. He went to Miami. Al went to Portage.
But they all ended up
And
together.
we all ended up at Wayne. So
Wow.
Al and I started on varsity as freshmen in football. And then we started as on varsity in basketball. Al and Steve Bates and I, and then I started in baseball as a not as a freshman, as a
10th
sophomore, 10th grader,
Wow.
as a 10th grader. And so, yeah, we came in competing right away.
Who was your basketball coach over at Wayne? And tell us a little bit about that relationship you had with the coach over there.
Mr. Dorman, Will
what I thought.
Will Dorman was my
yeah.
coach, and Will Dorman was a great coach. I met Will Dorman when I was 9 years old because Vern Dorman was, like I said earlier, was my Little League coach.
Yes.
And so Mr. Dorman, see, Wayne didn't exist at the time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because when you got over there, Wayne had just been built, correct?
Yeah, right. But when I was in elementary school and in junior high school, Wayne didn't exist. So they knew they were going to build Wayne, and Mr. Dorman knew he was going to be the head coach. So they used to have pickup games out at Southern Heights, out on, outside, and all the guys would come and play. And I used to ask Mr. Dorman, I think I was in the 6th or 7th grade, and I said, man, I can play with those guys, Mr. Dorman. Just put me in the game. And so he would stick me in every once in a while. But so I had a relationship with him since I was 8, and then he became the coach at Wayne, and I lived in the district, and then Al moved into the district, and we still have a special relationship today because he taught me so many things that he taught me that carry with me. My father, my mother, and my grandfather were probably the most influential people in my life, but Mr. Dorman certainly was. He instilled a lot of discipline and knowing how to win and work and those type of things. I still love Mr. Dorman today.
I got to ask you a question. Obviously, you said that you knew you was going to be a pro at something. A lot of kids think that. What was you doing extra? Outside of playing the game, were you working out a lot?
Well, we didn't have the facilities and all of the amenities and things that these kids have today.
now.
So I would go up to Southern Heights in the wintertime, and I'd cut the fingers out of the gloves, which my mother didn't appreciate.
Yeah.
And then I'd take the shovel up to and shovel the court off, and I would go up there and shoot. And I would shoot
So
and
there's
shoot
these
in the
workouts
cold.
shoveling off a
There
basketball
you go,
court.
man. But
Yeah.
that just shows you. You know what, though?
That's what you got to do.
You know what he had?
Determination.
And he was relentless.
Yeah.
No matter what it was going to take, he was going to do it. I'll shovel it off, and then I'm going to work on my game. And also, you didn't have the facilities, but you played 3 sports.
Right.
How did that help you, Roosevelt? Whether you're running hurdles or you're making tackles in the
4
football
sports.
field. Yeah, you're right. 4 sports.
sports.
How did that, help with your development in basketball and across the board?
Well, I think when it helps, just like now people talk about cross training.
Yes.
I think playing different sports help you develop
muscles.
different muscles
Sure.
and different skills. And so, but a lot of kids, we all competed in all, when the season changed, we would play the next sport. So, but I think
Season to
playing
season.
multiple sports helps you develop as a all-around athlete. Mr. Kamak, the Kamaks lived around the corner. The reason why I started hurdling is because Mr. Kamak and the Kamak family, they're hurdlers.
How did
And
you?
so
How did
everybody
you
in
make
our
that,
neighborhood hurdle?
How did you make that relationship?
Well, we grew up together. They lived around the corner, and Mr. Kamak he was kind of like a father for all the kids in the neighborhood, and he'd have hurdles, and if you could run, he would teach you how to hurdle. And so we would go to practice, and then after practice we would go to the Camex, and he would teach us how to hurdle. So
Wow.
Those are the type of things that you have to do, and that we did, and I did extra to make sure that because practice wasn't enough.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
I always wanted to do more, be more, and achieve more. So I knew it was going to take more of an effort.
Before we go on to your days at Purdue,
Well,
give us one quick statement, Dave. If you got something else,
Well,
absolutely. But
yeah, real quick. You're making your progression through 10th, 11th, 12th. Everybody in the state knows you. You're getting ready to make your decisions on college. Who's
Yes.
calling?
Well, you know, things were a little bit different back then because social media now.
Yeah.
People know everybody and everything. But I was recruited by everybody, really. Purdue, Indiana,
Purdue because of Walter?
Michigan State. It was more Eugene.
Eugene?
Yeah.
yeah.
But I was recruited for football and basketball and for baseball.
How'd they contact you? Did somebody come out to the school and see you, a representative, or?
Yeah, they used to come to the school and stuff, but they did more things through the high school coaches and things like that back then.
Okay.
And I remember Lee Corso was at Indiana,
Right.
and he recruited me, and he told me, he came to watch me play football, and IU was recruiting me too for basketball. Bobby Knight came and watched me play, but Lee Corso told me, he said, hey, if you come to Indiana, first of all, we'll let you play basketball too. He said, if you come to Indiana, you'll win the Heisman 3 years with me because you're the best running back in the country. And so I went down to a game on
Who's
a
Archie
visit.
Griffin?
Yeah, he told me
I love Lee.
He said I was gonna get more Heisman's, so he puts me on the side. I'm on the sideline. Back then, I'm on the sideline. And they're playing North Carolina State, and they had a running back, Rick Enos, and it's against North Carolina State.
Wow.
So he ran a dive play up the middle. He got hit so hard, his whole face mask blew up, and his face was bleeding.
Oh, boy.
And so I said, if they're doing that to him,
Yeah, they're going to
against North Carolina State, and IU was supposed to play Nebraska the 3 years while I'm supposed to be there.
where they're going to really hit. They're going to hit hard.
I said, I'm going to play basketball. Yeah.
But you was recruited under Lee Rose?
No, my first year, my freshman year, Fred Schaus was he was the coach that recruited me, and I went and played basketball there. Went on a basketball scholarship, and I ended up playing baseball as well. Purdue recruited me for football, but you know, at the time I didn't want to play football. You know, basketball was my first love, and then I wanted to play baseball. So I
So
played
you did play your freshman year, baseball.
Yes, I did. I played my freshman year.
I thought it was your senior year.
No, I played my freshman year and my sophomore year at Purdue, and just never learned how to hit a curveball. You know, if
He has a great story. This is later on, but we'll let him. I'm just going to go forward. On the top of the trophy, there's the guy. You know, the statue is swinging.
Sure.
Coach out down at Huntington tells him, I bet you got a lot of trophies. He goes, yeah. He goes, you need to look at the top of the trophy. And the guy's leaning on his back leg, which he didn't do because he was out on his front leg while he couldn't hit the curveball.
Right. I could hit the cover off the fastball, but
I bet you could.
You know, because when I was at Purdue and I was playing baseball, you know, because I was a basketball player on a basketball scholarship, we used to have a double round robin through the Big Ten. So the first time around, because I was a basketball player, the pitchers, they just tried to throw it by me. So I was knocking the cover off the ball. I think I was leading the Big Ten in home runs, and I was second in RBIs,
Wow.
and I was like third in average. So the second time around, they started throwing that off-speed stuff and doing this to me.
Yep.
And
Out.
I think I went 5 for 55.
Ooh.
I didn't hit the ball out the infield because I was always out on my front foot.
Driving it right down
Being
to the
aggressive.
ground.
Yeah.
That was what you've always learned in
That's-
sports.
that's
being aggressive.
being
Wait,
aggressive.
no one ever worked with him.
No.
And that's what's remarkable, you know.
That's how.
Yeah.
That's why I say he's the best.
You
no
are the
one
best.
ever worked with the guy, and he's just the statistics he just put out shouldn't happen.
Unbelievable. So,
Yeah.
so you're at Purdue. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we want to hear about the Final Four trip at Purdue, you know, the basketball career at Purdue. Then you decide to play a year of football at Purdue. So, man, unbelievable. So when we come back, we want to hear about Purdue, and then we want to transition over to the business side of the sports and the brotherhood with Eugene Parker and all the great memories of business. So we've got Roosevelt Barnes tonight. Dave and I couldn't be any happier. We hope everybody's enjoying the interview. This is the 260.
Thanks for listening to the Multi-Format Network, where we have a history of working in radio, digital media, and across all podcast and social media platforms, offering media services a la carte to anyone seeking help with the creation of their show. From making a podcast RSS feed to syndicating a daily radio show from your home studio. The Multi-Format Network is the company you want to work with to own your content. Find us at multiformat.net. Email us at operators@multiformat.net.
Spiece Fieldhouse, a 150,000 square foot facility, has one of the most sophisticated, technologically advanced, and user-friendly basketball-only facilities in the United States. Hundreds of America's top prep basketball stars have competed inside the walls of Spiece Fieldhouse, which is conveniently located at exit 311 off I-69. The faculty features a large parking lot with over 400 parking spots, concessions, and workout facilities. 8 hardwood basketball and volleyball courts, spectator seating, a shot clock, scoreboard, and locker rooms, a restaurant and snack bar, over 400 parking spaces, an extensive fitness center, and has hosted such events as the USSSA National Tournament, Bill Hensley's Memorial Run and Slam All-Star Classic, the AYBT Nationals, Hoosier Hysteria Shootout, Lady Jim Rat's May Invitational, and the Hickory Husker Classic. Spiece Fieldhouse, which is conveniently located at exit 311 off I-69.
Yes, and we are back. This is the 260. I'm Joe Walburn. I'm joined by the man they call the mayor of the 260, Dave Rickert. We've got the great Roosevelt Barnes with us, and we want to remind you about our social media. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, at the 260. Remember, that's an O, not a 0. There's no zeros in the 260. And there were no zeros on your Purdue teams playing basketball back then, Roosevelt. And tell us a little bit about that experience playing Big Ten basketball. And as I understand, you had 3 different coaches you played for. You had a trip to the 1980 Final Four. Unfortunately, that's the last time Purdue's been to the Final Four, Roosevelt. But talk about that experience, the
How
coaches.
bad was this past weekend for you?
Oh, man, we
tough.
didn't want to bring it up this past
That
week.
was ugly.
That was ugly. Yeah.
Terrible.
I think Coach Painter is a great coach. The only suggestion I would have is that I think he's done amazing. He does more with less than any other coach in the country. But we got to sprinkle in some zones sometime. But
No zone.
yeah, we don't play any zone and all. But hey, he knows better than me. But I went to Purdue. Primarily, there were two. Eugene went there, and then also it was when I was a senior in high school. They had a center. He was 7'1", Joe Barry Carroll.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Wow.
And the first time I saw him, you know how they used to do the exhibition games?
Yes.
And they used to come to the Coliseum and
Yep.
play. And so I saw him there, and I remember seeing him, and I told him, I said, hey, I was a senior in high school. He was, he was a college guy, and he was going to the locker room. I said, hey, if I come to Purdue, we're going to win the national championship, you and me. Because I was a little cocky.
Just a little bit.
Well, you averaged 18 points a game in high school, and you were an all-star. You were an Indiana all-star, so you had a little swag.
Yeah, I had a little something going on. So those were the main reasons I went to Purdue. And Coach Schaus was my coach, and he coached the Lakers at one time. So and Jerry West. So those were the things that intrigued me. And so he coached me my freshman year, and then my sophomore year, he went into the athletic department and became an assistant athletic director. Then they brought in Coach Rose, and he was my coach my sophomore and junior year, which was the two most miserable years of my life.
Really?
Playing for Coach Rose. Yeah, he was a tyrant.
Worse than Bobby?
Oh yeah, now Bobby used more profanity, but he was as crazy, if not more crazy than
Really?
Bobby. Yeah, he was a tyrant, and but we went to the Final Four. We went to the Final Four. Matter of fact, we went to the finals of the NIT my sophomore year.
Wow.
And see, back then they only took like I think it was only 42 teams went, and so the NIT was still a really big tournament.
Yes.
And so we went to the Final Four to NIT my sophomore year. That was the year that Michigan State won the national championship. We were the last team to beat them. And in the finals that year was us, Indiana, Ohio State, and Alabama.
Wow.
And we played Indiana in the championship game of the NIT. Then my junior year, we were led by Joe Barry Carroll. He was a player of the year that year.
Wow.
We went to the Final Four. And lost to UCLA in the first game in the Final Four.
Who was on UCLA then?
Kiki Vandeweghe.
Okay.
And Rod Smith. I think it was Rod Smith, but that group of guys. That was the year that Louisville won with the Dr. Duncanstein and all those guys. And then my senior year of basketball, we went to the Final Four of the NIT again.
Wow.
And that was without, Joe Barry had gone on. He was the number one pick in the draft. And we went to the Final Four again. And so during my era, we were very, very good. So we had some great players. Keith Edmondson, he was the 10th pick in the draft. Like I said, Joe Barry was the number one pick in the draft. I played with Russell Cross, who was the 10th pick in the draft. My roommate was Michael Scarce, Scooby Scarce. He didn't make it to the pros, but we always had fun together. I know that.
Who was the best player that you played against during basketball in your college years?
I would say Ronnie Lester was the best before he hurt his knee.
Okay. Who did he play for?
He played for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and he was unbelievable. Everybody talk about Isaiah Thomas, but Ronnie Lester was the best guard I played against.
Wow.
And then probably 1A would be Isaiah.
What made Isaiah so fantastic?
Well, he handled the
quickness.
ball. He was quick. He just knew how to play.
Smooth.
Yes, very smooth. But humbly, I'll say this: I'm the only person in the world could stop Isaiah Thomas.
Really?
Hey, when I guarded him. If he was at a bar right now and he had something to drink and I walk in and he saw me, he would spill it, turn it over. So
I love that.
Nice.
So,
You gotta love that. It never goes away, Dave.
yeah, it's a competitive thing.
Yeah.
But.
Last year though, you played for Katie, right? Gene
Yeah,
Katie.
my last year I
What
played for
was
Coach
that
Katie.
like? Because Gene Katie goes on and has this unbelievable coaching career, and that was his first year.
Yeah, that was his first year. He brought in a different mentality. That was I dabbled in lifting weights some in my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. But when Coach Katie came in, it was mandatory that you lifted weights. And you talk about toughness. I mean, it was back then you played a much more physical game. It was tighter. It wasn't all spread out.
Sure.
And if you cut across the lane,
You're gonna get hit.
You were not allowed to cut across. That was Bloody Nose Alley. And if you didn't hit the guy going across the lane, then Coach Katie was going to go nuts.
Wow, unbelievable. So you finish up playing basketball at Purdue. Talk to us about the decision then to go out and play football for Purdue the 1 year.
Well, I finished up my my basketball career
Yes.
at Purdue, and I was scheduled to graduate that spring, and I remember Coach Bob King. He was a assistant athletic. He dealt with the players, but he's assistant athletic director, and a guy named Dick Satterfield, who had played at Purdue, he's a few years ahead of me. He had he works for Procter & Gamble. And so he got me a job interview, and it was, it was considered a good job.
Yeah,
and so I went down to Cincinnati, and I interviewed, and they told me they're going to give me a territory in West Ohio, Southwest Ohio.
Wow.
Right off the bat,
I was going to
he's
get
making big money.
Wow.
Well, it was going to be, it was in the middle of the boondocks to me, and they told me I was going to get a company car and I was going to get 2 weeks of vacation, and they told me what I was going to start off making. I was like, man, I'm not doing that. 2 weeks of vacation. So I went back and I told Coach. I went to Jim Young was a coach at Purdue at the time, head coach.
Sure.
And so I used to mess around with the football players and the basketball players were pretty close because we all lived in the dorm together. And I used to tease them. I said, I'm the best football player on campus, and I don't even play. So I went to Coach Young and asked him, I said, if I come out in the spring, will you pay for a year of grad school and let me play football? It hadn't been done before. Because it was you had 4 years. You could play 4 years, and you could you had 5 years. You could compete for 4 years, but you had a fifth year. If you redshirted.
Yes.
So I asked him if I went out for football, and he said, if you think you can make the team, and he asked me, well, what position would you play? I was a point guard in basketball, so most of the time basketball players who go over and try to play football, they play on the offensive side of the ball. And I did ask him, I said, well, where do you not have a starter? And he said, safety, tight end. And the last position he said was linebacker.
Wow.
And I said, well, I'll play that because they didn't have a starter, and I thought I could start. And
Were you a hitter in high school?
Yeah, I played linebacker and running back.
So you did play linebacker in high school?
Yeah, I played some linebacker.
So it's not new to you?
No, it wasn't new to me. Big Al and Al played outside linebacker, and I played the Mike. We played next to each other, and so then wasn't nothing happening on our side,
So what was that transition like? You hadn't played football in what, 4 years? 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, here you are in a Big Ten program. You're going to play on the defensive side of the ball. What was that like?
Well, it was a big change. It was a big change, a big transition. But
how much did you have to beef up during the summer?
I started lifting more right towards the end of the basketball. Well, with Coach Katie, you had to lift weights anyway, and it was a basketball is a physical sport.
Yes.
Football is an insane sport. You have to get to a place where you're willing to
give it all up.
Yeah, knock a cat's head completely off and be okay with it, and take the punishment yourself. So it was a mental switch you had to turn on. That I was able to do it, and it was fun. Really, I could foul people on purpose now.
At what point in that football season was there a game where you felt like, yeah, I got this, I belong, I can play Big Ten football too?
Well, I always felt pretty confident that I could play, but we played Illinois. I only started one game. So because they used to, I think
you only started one game.
I started one game in college.
And goes to the pros.
But they had a guy named Gladstone that was a senior, had played, so they would let him start. He would play 2 series, then I would go in and I'd play 2 or 3 series, and so we rotated like that. I started one game against Northwestern. But with that, I led the team in sacks, I believe, that year.
Wow.
And against Illinois, I think Tony Easton was the quarterback. He was a first-round pick.
Yeah, he went on and played for New England Patriots.
Yes.
Yep.
I think I had 3 sacks, several tackles for loss. Somebody told me, now I don't know, but someone told me that up until a few years ago, I still had the record for the most yardage lost for sacks in a single game.
Wow.
So I knew then that I could. I got a sack against Ohio State against Art Schleister.
Wow.
So
Those names.
The gambler.
The gambler. Yeah.
yeah. So I
Still
knew
getting sacked.
I knew I could play, and finished out the season and had a pretty good one season there.
So talk to us about the process of getting drafted by the Detroit Lions and playing in the NFL.
When did they start talking to you?
Well, actually, what made me think of going back to you asked what made me think I could play in the spring when I went out before the season. When I went and talked to Coach Young about playing, I was out at spring practice, and really I wasn't that serious about it. And I just wanted to stay in school another year because I didn't want to get a job, and I wanted to hang out on campus. And
pretty girls.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was at practice, and Gil Brent from the Cowboys.
The Cowboy Scout, the famous scout.
That's right. He was at practice, and I was walking off, and he called me over to him. He said, "Hey, Barnes, come here." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "If you got serious about this game, you might be able to make some money." I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, you're pretty good. And so after that actually what spurred me on to really get in the weight room and really try to do something
Gil
with
Brandt.
that. And so Gil Brandt told me that. So then after the season, teams start coming around. We had a pretty good team. And so there were some other prospects on our team that were going to go to the pros. And back then they didn't have a combine. Teams would just come and work you out at the school.
Yeah.
So I would stay in where the indoor track was, and every day I would wait. And if a team would come to work out one of the other players, I would ask, well, let me work out too? And let me run for you.
Promoting himself.
Yeah, that's basically what I did, and ended up getting drafted in the 10th round. They don't even have 10 rounds anymore. So I got drafted in the 10th round and by the Detroit Lions.
Who was the coach of the Detroit Lions when you went to play for the Lions?
Monty Clark was the coach.
Monty Clark.
Yes, Monty Clark was the coach, and I was a 10th round pick. We had 13 draft choices that year, or 14 draft choices that year, and 11 of us made the team.
Wow.
Ed Lee, he was the 11th pick in the draft. We ended up we were roommates. Back then, the money that these kids make now, they don't need roommates. But back then, I had 2 roommates. I had him and Jay Hayes. But we all made the team and shared an apartment together, and it was a lot of fun.
Hey, Ben, if you can hear me back in Chicago, I'm going to show Mr. Barnes a little blast from the past. If you can bring that picture up from Chicago.
Oh, wait a minute.
This is, I think, 1984.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, wow.
That is at, I think, Ellis Ayers.
And who are the people next to
That
me?
would be
I
you.
recognize me.
And that'd be me and my good friend Matt Hinton.
Really?
And my mom took us after school to get your autograph.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's a long time ago.
That is. I have hair and I have black hair and a mustache.
Yeah, we'll get it up here in a second because everybody
Gray?
wants to see that, you know. But what was the biggest thing for you? What was the most eye-popping moment when you went and played in the NFL for you?
Well, I would say two. Well, first of all, you know, when I got there, I was a 10th round pick, and I played I had basketball background, and actually Isaiah was up at with the Pistons at the time, and so you know, just the speed of the game, and that was eye popping. But I remember my rookie year when I got there, when I got to training camp. I was number 96C.
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 Yes. So there were two other guys on the team had number 96, and I was number 96C.
A, B, C.
A, B, and C.
Wow.
And so I knew I was in a fight for my life. But I used to, you know, back then you could fight and it was physical, so I used to have to fight every day in practice. And then
Who was A and B?
I don't even remember those
Don't even
guys.
remember.
They didn't last.
Yeah, and so my rookie year, my first preseason game, we were playing the Raiders, and Jim Plunkett was the quarterback.
Right.
Wow.
And so I came in the game, and Marcus Allen caught a pass, and he was running down the sideline. And so I was the backside linebacker, so I took off running after him.
Marcus Allen.
Little did I know, Kenny King was behind me.
Oh, Kenny King was tough, man.
And so when I cut Marcus off to tackling, I didn't see Kenny King behind me. And so I stopped to tackle him, and he cold-cocked me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he hit me so hard. Back then, we didn't know what concussions were. And so when I looked up, the Silver Dome was spinning, and there were little black dots. And so I went
Concussed.
back. I went back to the huddle, and I remember Bubba Baker was on this side,
Bubba Baker.
and Dave Purefield was on this side. And they said, "Hey, Rook, you need to get out. Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm gonna stay in the game." So they called the defensive play, and I remember I think it was safety X. So I'm supposed to drop to the middle of the field.
Yes.
But I was disoriented. The ceiling was still spinning.
It's gone.
So when Plunkett starts calling the plays, he calls it. I drop to the flat. Well, he knew I was supposed to be in the middle, so he threw the ball to the flat, and he threw it right to me, hit me right in the chest.
This is the longest.
Yeah, he hits me in the chest, and so everybody said, "Oh man, how'd you figure that out?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't tell everybody. I was still dizzy. And then the other moment, welcome to the NFL moment, was, you know, in Fort Wayne at the time, the only pro teams that we really got to see was the Chicago Bears.
Yes.
Because we only had 3 stations. So Walter Payton was my idol, one of the guys I looked up to. So the first time we were playing the Bears, I came in, you know, I was like the nickel linebacker, and I was a special teams captain. I was a captain and everything. And so Walter Payton caught a swing pass. So I'm running over to him, and by watching him all those years growing up, you know he never ran out. You know he
wouldn't
didn't
run out of
run out of
bounds.
time.
No.
So he's running towards the sideline. I run toward him, and I start thinking, man, that's Walter Payton. That's Walter Payton. That's Walter Payton. So then when I was getting ready to hit him, I didn't want to hit him because he was Walter Payton, so I stopped. And he turned and
Hit you.
bam, he ran me over. And so he was stepping on my chest.
Oh, no.
So
Oh, my
I
God.
grabbed his foot, and he fell over me.
Wow.
So I got accredited for the tackle.
Tackle.
And
Even
so,
though he tackled you.
yeah, so when he got up, he patted me on the back, and he said, good tackle, Barnes. I said, oh, Walter Payton knows my name. He knows my name.
That's fantastic.
So those are my
Wow.
NFL, welcome to NFL moments.
To finish up on the NFL before we pivot to business, who was the toughest guy you saw play in the NFL in your era, and who was the best player you saw in the NFL in your era?
Well, you know, I played with some people forget how good Billy Sims was.
Billy Sims.
Billy Sims was a great player. Bubba Baker was a great pass rusher. He should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why he's not. Bubba Baker should be in the Hall of Fame. I played against Ozzie Newsome, who's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he was fantastic.
So guys, Walter Payton, I played against him. He was tough as nails. Eric Dickerson was, he was different.
Yep. Big man. Big shoulders.
And then the entire Chicago Bears defense, they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
People don't understand how vicious they were.
They wanted to hurt you.
Yeah, they would take your head off. So I would say that those were the toughest guys I played against.
As you finished up playing, it's time to get serious about business. Eugene Parker, talk a little bit about how much he meant to you, and talk about how you got involved in the business side of sports.
Well, Eugene and I met Eugene when I was 8 years old. He was actually playing Little League over at Lawton Park.
He was another great baseball player.
With some of my cousins. Ron Barnes, he played over there. And I had some other cousins, Rudy and Lil Jimmy and those guys, but primarily Ron and his brother. And so Eugene was pitching. He played for People's Trust. I never forget.
People's Trust Bank.
People's Trust Bank.
And he was a left-handed pitcher. Didn't know what he was doing. He used to hold a baseball like this, so he threw a baseball like he was throwing rocks. And so that's the first time I remember meeting him. And then, like I said, neighborhoods used to play against neighborhoods. I really didn't like him when I was growing up because he wasn't from our neighborhood. But then we started playing against each other in the neighborhoods. He was a little older than me. And then he was a competitor, I was a competitor, and then we became very good friends, like brothers. And like I said, he was one of the reasons why I ended up going to Purdue. And so when I decided to play football, and I knew I was going to go to the pros, I wanted to, I didn't trust anybody. Actually, Gene was actually still in law school, and I asked him if he would be my agent.
Wow.
And so I was the first client.
You were the first client.
I was the first client. So
wow.
I was the guinea pig. We made all the mistakes on my contract. So
that's fantastic.
We learned from all the bonehead stuff we did with my stuff. And so then after I was done playing, I hurt my neck. I got traded from Detroit to the Colts, hurt my neck down there and had to retire. And so once I was done playing, he was just really kind of getting into business. He might have had one or two clients, and he asked me, because he didn't trust anybody either. So then he asked me if I would, help out. So he was working at a law firm, and I had my own business. I used to sell spare parts to forklifts and material handling equipment. I had my own business called MBE. So we would work together, and we ended up building the business up to where we are and were and still are the top agents in the business.
So
wow.
Rod Woodson was your first big one, right?
Well,
or was it Dion?
Yeah, Rod was before Dion.
Okay, yeah, Rod.
But he was Rod was special. I mean, Rod was really, really good.
Everybody says the two of them together, who's the best? Yes, Rod Woodson, NFL Hall of Fame, track. But could he hit a baseball?
No.
So that makes him number one.
No.
That's what Dave always says. Dave always says you're number one because you can hit a baseball. That puts you a little bit ahead of Rod. But, man, Rod was fantastic coming out, playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
And Man, how exciting was it? Did you get the same high with Eugene building that business as you did playing football or sports?
No, I don't think you ever can duplicate that. You know, the thrill of playing sports. You know, my biggest enjoyment still to this day. I've accomplished a lot of stuff, but it was winning the Little League City Championship. You know,
Wow.
I remember.
There goes our rapid fire right there.
When
There
I
he
turned,
goes. Yep.
Take that question off. His greatest achievement.
I remember when I turned 13, I cried because I couldn't play Little League anymore.
Wow.
But
Special.
you know, so it was, you know, it was just fun the whole time, building the business. You do get, what I enjoy most about the business is you get to see people, help people change their lives.
Yeah, I was
You
going to
know,
ask you that.
It
Absolutely.
is, that's the biggest thrill. And when you take young men, young men, and you get to pour into their lives, and it really turns into like a ministry, you know.
Sure.
And I say all clients listen, but it's just when they listen. The ones who listen early,
Don't come begging.
they make life-changing, or they can make enough money, particularly in today's game, where they can change their whole life. But
Change their grandkids' lives.
a lot of times they don't want to
Listen.
You know, guys don't necessarily want to hear it at the time, but that's the biggest thrill that you get, that I've gotten over the years, is seeing how we affect people's lives, and then seeing guys when they're done playing and when they are productive, wealthy fathers,
Yes.
and husbands and businessmen and those type of things. So
I mean,
that's
look
the
at
biggest
Jesse
thrill.
Bates' numbers. What he just got.
Yeah, $64 million over 4 years. But
He's set for life.
He's set for life. But Roosevelt, how did you and Eugene initially build that trust with these big-time college players? What was the pitch to be able to, you know, build that trust? And as I say in my CPA firm, a lot of times I sell assurance that I'm going to be there. It's going to be okay. I'm going to handle it. How did you guys sell that and make that pitch?
Well, what we always talked about was, we're not trying to be a star. We're not trying to be the star. You're the star. And our job is to help educate you in the business, because this is a business, you know. And do we want you to have fun? Absolutely. But let's approach this from a business perspective, and what do we need to do to be successful? We always kept in the forefront that the client, you're our boss, but you're hiring us for our expertise.
Yes.
And the reason why you're hiring us is we're very much like parents. You know, when it comes to children, you know, if you have a 6-month-old baby, what can they do for themselves? Nothing. 5-year-old, you can tell them to put your clothes on, but they still are very dependent on you. Well, when you're 20, your kids go off to college, they're more self-sufficient. Well, we always treat our clients, we said, hey, we're going to smother you when you first get in.
Yes.
Because your life is going to change. Money changes things. And so we want to make sure that you understand the business of football. And as you get older and our relationship continues to change, then no different than parents, you can tell your kids, hey, make sure you get up and get on the bus. You teach them different things about life so they can survive. Well, that's what we do, and what we've always done is try to teach them about the business of football and how it can change your life, because I don't care how long you play. If you play 15 years, everybody talks about Tom Brady. Tom Brady played forever. Tom Brady is only 45 years old.
Yeah, what's he going to do with the rest of his life?
He's still young, really, in real life. So even if you play a long time in football, 14, 15 years, you're typically in your 30s when you get done.
Yeah.
So our job is to empower them with knowledge.
Exactly.
Empower them with knowledge. And if they have the knowledge, because I want you to be as smart, if not smarter than me.
Yes.
We want to pour everything into them because they have the rest of their lives to live. And so that's what our pitch has been and what it still is, to empower the young men with knowledge so they can have a good life while they're playing, but even have a better life when they're done.
Well said.
What was the contract that you guys negotiated or one you negotiated for one of your clients that you were most proud of, most excited with, and with maybe a guy you really cared about, but it really made a difference with him? But what was that contract that you were like, yeah, baby, we got that one done?
It's not necessarily the biggest contracts you do.
Sure.
I mean, you get a big thrill when you do the blockbuster deal. Like, over the 30 years that I've been doing this, we changed the game. There's only been a few changes in the CBA, and we were involved in all of them. The Deion Sanders rule, when Curtis Martin went from the Patriots to the Jets.
Yes.
And we put a poison pill in that. Deion had a bigger signing bonus and bigger contract than Troy Aikman. Voidables and all those type of things. We were the people who started those type of things. But you get a thrill from that. And and you bring up Rod Woodson. Everybody talked about Reggie White's deal when he went from
Philadelphia
the Eagles
to
Green Bay, and they were talking about how big it was. Rod Woodson that same year made more money than him.
Wow.
Now, very quietly behind the scenes, we could have been on TV bragging, but we didn't. But
You guys have always been quiet about your
Very quiet. About
very
business.
quiet.
we want to be behind the scenes because the players are the stars. But guys like Vince Williams, who he played for the Steelers, he was a 6th-round pick, and so he never made a whole bunch of money.
He was a defensive lineman, wasn't he?
No, he's a linebacker.
Linebacker. Okay. Yeah.
But he did everything we asked him to do from the beginning. Vince will never have to work another day in his life,
Wow.
nor will his kids.
How many years did Vince play in the NFL?
He played 8 years.
Wow.
Played 9 years, I believe.
Yeah.
A guy
So
like
he gets his pension.
There you go.
a guy like Walter Jones, who, and I'm talking about retired guys. Walter Jones, who started off very humbly when he grew up in basically a trailer with no running water and stuff like that.
Wow.
And now he followed the plan, and now he's wealthy.
The plan works.
And those type of stories are the ones that keep you motivated and keep you going. But it's the little guy, like I said, like a Vince Williams, like a Mike Neal, like a Roman Oben, guys like that who were even Ryan Neal now. Those guys are they were not household names.
Sure.
But those guys are really well off. And you get a big thrill out of the fact that some of the guys that we have represented over the years, they have children now. And we represent their kids.
Right.
Wow.
And so,
He's about ready to represent probably the next Bryce Harper.
oh, yeah. Corey,
Definitely.
Corey
talk about that a little bit, Dave. Give the people a little bit of background on that, if you don't mind, Roosevelt.
Corey Fuller, who is someone that I represented, and he played for 11, I think he played for 11 years. He was a 2nd-round pick, but he's got a son named Chase Fuller.
Yeah.
He's the number 1 14-year-old in the country.
I watched this kid's game. 8th grader.
Wow.
He's the number 1 player in the nation.
Unbelievable. Wow.
He throws
Pitches.
like 87.
Already.
hits
huh?
the cover off the ball.
I got him at 90.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he does.
Had 90.
He throws 90.
He had 90.
He throws 90. He hits the cover off the ball. He'll be in Major League Baseball when he's 17 or 18. He is a freak. So
And
his
Roosevelt already has the plan, sort of to follow the Bryce Harper.
yeah, he needs to
Get
he
him to
needs to,
JUCO.
he needs to graduate early. He's in 8th grade now. He needs to graduate in 3 years. He needs to go to JUCO, and then he'll be in the majors by the time he's 18.
Do you think from just his personality, Do you think that he can handle that, and that's a good thing, just to graduate early like that, Roosevelt?
Well, I think kids rise to the level of your expectation. You know, I think, you know, a lot of people talk about pressure and you putting too much pressure. There's pressure in life.
That's true.
You know, pressure is when you wake up in the morning, you can't figure out what you're gonna eat. Pressure is not being able to pay your bills.
That's right.
The pressure of being expecting greatness out of your children and people. I don't think that that's pressure. I think kids rise to the level of your expectation. I think that you need to discipline kids. I think that they need to be told what to do.
That is the problem with society
kids
now,
want
lack
to
of
be disciplined.
I agree with you.
Kids aren't different. Kids aren't any different today they were when we grew up. Parents are different, and
That's
so
right.
I think
don't whoop.
Chase is no, they don't.
They don't whoop. That's the whole problem.
I think Chase will be able to handle it because he's been raised to handle it. He's been raised to expect to be great, and he's also been raised to be humble.
He's already gone to Florida State. He's already signed to go to Florida State, which he will not go to Florida State. He'll be in the pros.
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow. A couple more questions before we get to our lightning round. Did Roosevelt Barnes find his purpose in life with the sports agency, with the mentoring these young guys, putting them on the path to success? Did you find your purpose?
Well, yeah, I think so. I enjoy helping people. I think all the way from back when I was playing, Wildcat and Little League, and I've always been a person that tried to look out for other people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young men, kids, women, kids that I've helped over the years that people don't know about.
Sure.
That are not professional athletes. And I've always believed in, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Shall men put it in your bosom. Same measure you meet, it shall be measured back to you. So I live by that. And so when you give, then it's going to come back to you. And so this is something that I have a passion for.
Yes.
Helping people, helping
Another
kids.
thing, he's not retiring.
He shouldn't retire. You've got too much knowledge. You've got so much to give.
His father, tell a story about your father.
Well, my dad, my dad was like I said, my dad was my hero. He's my Superman. But I don't know, I don't know if he got sick and then he stopped working, or if he stopped working and he got sick or started getting weak.
But it was close.
But it was right at the same. So I don't plan on ever. I'm gonna work forever.
One more question before Dave hits you with the lightning round.
My dad was my hero, but my mama was the boss.
That's why you had a beautiful family and it worked. One last question. Eugene Parker's sitting there, right there. What would you say to him right now?
I would just say I miss you.
Yeah.
I wish you were here. But that's what I would say.
Well, I know was very special to you, but you've carried on his torch.
God bless him.
Yep.
Dave's going to give you about some quick questions here. We're going to finish up.
Okay.
I tell you what, I don't want to quit. I just want to talk to you all night, but Dave's got a lightning round.
Keep going.
We could do this forever.
I got a gem of a story I don't even have time for. When he was making the comeback for baseball. Tell that story real quick.
Yeah, tell that story. It's a great story.
Well, I was done playing with the Lions. I was done playing
Colts.
With the Colts, and I was trying to help a kid named, I think it was Ray Moon at the time. And so we would go down
Ray Moon.
Yeah.
We would go down
whose son plays football for Purdue, correct?
Yes. And he was
Shouts out to Ray Moon.
He was a baseball player.
Oh yeah.
And so we started going down to Huntington College, and Matt Kinzer, and we would go down there, and so I got in the cage a couple of times, and I could still hit the baseball, and I could knock the cover off the ball. And so the coach down there, what's the coach's name?
Frame.
Yeah, Coach Frame. He saw me hitting in there, and he said, He said, you got to keep your weight back. But people used to tell me that all the time growing up, and I never knew what it was. I keep my foot up in there. I tried all kind of stuff. So then that's the story where he said, if you look at the guy on the top of the trophy and see how his foot is and his knee is bent and he's back, he said, that's what you need to look. That's what you need to do. And I was like, oh man, no one ever told me that. And he said, and do this. And so then he filmed me. And that's the first time I ever saw myself hit before.
Wow.
And it clicked. I was like raking the ball. And so now I'm done, but I was much bigger. I was just coming up. I was playing after
NFL
coming
linebacker
football.
big.
Yeah. And so back then, your ID, you didn't have pictures on it. And I took my birth certificate and I erased it, erased my first name, and my ID I erased it, and I put Willie Mays Barnes.
from the movie Major League.
Yeah.
Willie Mays Hayes.
Yeah, I said Willie Mays Barnes.
You're kidding me.
No. And the Kansas City Royals were having a tryout down in Florida.
Sure.
So I flew down there. I shaved my mustache off. And
you had a solid stash.
I pulled my hat down like this. And so I went and I showed the guy, because I was going to try out for the Royals, and the guy looked at my ID. He looked up at me, because I changed my birth date. I was 20. I think I was 28. So I said I was 19. No, I said I was 20.
20.
I said I was 20 years old.
You already played 4 years in the NFL.
And so the guy looked down. He looked up. He looked down. He said, "Come on, Rosie. Come on, man."
He knew it was Roosevelt.
He knew it was you right off the bat.
He said, "I watched you play, man."
Here's a little add-on to that story. Matt Brumball was playing at Huntington when this was all happening, so he was watching this all happen.
Yeah. So that was my short comeback story to baseball, So
That's a fantastic
Most
story.
people are trying to get into a bar. He's trying to do it reverse.
That's how much you love sports,
Yeah.
And that really kind of captures the interview of how much you love sports. We got a couple quick questions. We do a little rapid fire session. Do you have time for Netflix? If so, what are you watching on Netflix?
On Netflix, I just watch random movies on Netflix.
So you're not a series guy?
Well, I do watch some series. I watch BMF.
Mm-hmm.
I watch Power.
Yeah.
I like all the Power series. I watch what is it? Handmaid's Tales. I watch that.
That's great.
I watch that. What other series? Oh, I watch Snowfall. Those are the series that I watch. But primarily I watch sports. But,
Right.
But those are the things. Those are the series I've watched.
When you're in the fort, what's your favorite restaurant?
Well, probably I go to I like castles,
Yeah.
but I've changed the way I eat, so I eat at home a lot.
Okay. What's your favorite Mexican?
I don't eat Mexican.
No Mexican.
No
No.
Mexican, huh?
No.
Now, if you're riding down the road, what are you listening to?
I'm listening to all old school R&B.
Yes.
So it's not the Luthers, the Donny Hathaway, Layla Hathaway, Stevie Wonder.
Stevie.
That type of music.
Last question. Who was the youth coach that meant the most to you?
I'd say, well, I can't really separate them. I would say Al Meredith, who was the my Little League coach, head coach, and then
It always goes back to Little League coach.
yeah, Al Meredith, and then Vern and Will Dorman. Those were probably
Great names.
of my youth. Those were my favorite. And then Mr. Twitchell, who was my 9th grade football coach. I got my first offer from the university. He was in the Army, from Army University when I was I think I was in the 8th grade. And he said that someday he was trying to talk me into going to the Army and play
Military.
football there. Military. I was like, whoa, no, I don't want to do that. But Al Meredith, Vern Dorman, and Will Dorman.
And he already answered my last question. His greatest sports moment. He already said it was Little League 12.
Oh yeah, Little League, Elmhurst, Little League Diamond, winning the city championship. I hit 3 home runs over the lights. And by the way, when I was in high school, and when I was playing Pony League and Colt League, and we used to play at Sweeney Park, and we'd play at McMillan Park, and we'd play at. They didn't have a fence. Yeah. And out at Wayne, they didn't have a fence. So
that's why the triples records you'll see in high school, they'll never be broken.
Yeah.
Because there was no fence.
There was no fence. So they would back up all the way back. So I would have to run stuff out. But anyway, my greatest memory and greatest sports moment is winning the
city
championship.
Roosevelt Barnes, a legend of the 260.
I really appreciate it, sir.
A name that will always be spoken with pride.
Well, thank you.
It's been a pleasure to hear about your journey. And wow, Dave, I tell you what.
Goes quick. We didn't even get to talk about his new clients.
I tell you what, we're going to have you back. And
I would love to.
God bless you on the business. And I want to, thank a few people. Dave, I want to thank you for all your work lining up these great interviews.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Sonar from Multi-Format Network. I want everybody out there to know in the 260, Sonar with the Multi-Format Network. You can find Sonar at multiformat.net. And if you want to have a podcast, if you want to get content out at the 260, reach out to Sonar. Again, it's Sonar at multiformat.net. We want to see more content, more podcasts, Dave, pop up at the 260. I want to thank Matt Brumball from Spiece. Again, it's SpieceFitness.com. Get out here for the camps. We're excited about spring break. We got volleyball camps. We have stuff going on with the gym. So many good things out here with Jack and Matt with Spiece Fitness. So we're so excited about that, Dave.
And back to Sonar, I'm really hoping that him and Roosevelt can get together and get this NFL alumni going.
Absolutely,
Detroit.
absolutely. And thank you again for your work, Denise and Ben Boquist.
Thank you, Denise.
And once again, everybody, that's been Roosevelt Barnes, a 260 legend. And remember, everybody, we are the 260.
Thank you.